Good morning and welcome to our waste management webinar this morning. Just waiting for a couple of more people to join us and we'll kick off this morning. Okay, we'll kick off there. Right, this morning we decided we have quite a number of clients in the waste management industry, and we did a small survey around there and to see was there specific points that we could assist other customers on that. So I was going to take this this webinar this morning in probably two parts. One, trying to look at the Sage 50 integration pieces, some of the parameters around the Sage 50, and then try and bring it out to reporting, because sometimes it's not actually the entry of Sage 50 that's proven the problem, is making sure that some of the parameters behind the scenes are available to us. But I suppose just a quick introduction for the people that are not aware of Pimbrook so far. We concentrate on Sage 50 and Sage Payroll, and therefore we are experts in the market of supplying and implementing Sage 50. We have over 1,500 clients. We're 20 years in the business. And I think one of our primary focuses is on customer service. So where other people are turning to technology to support their customer base, we are continuing to recruit and have people at the end of the phone to ensure that that a person's query is being heard and understood. We have the privilege of supporting a lot of branded clients there, and as you can see, some of the feedback is quite overwhelming, and very proud to have the team being commented on like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out into the software. And first of all, we're going to start on the Sage 50. So in Sage 50, we have a number of parameters that I'd like to utilize today and point out to you. And some of them are in the customer area. And if we have a look at the customer, we can see here under defaults that we have analysis codes. So we could use one of them maybe possibly for a rep, or one of them maybe for an industry. So we'll look at that shortly. We have other areas such as departments. So possibly analysing out our costs by department. And we can utilize these when we're logging invoices or transactions onto Sage 50. So without further ado, let's have a quick look at the entry of information into Sage 50. So you can start at quotation level. And the benefits of starting at quotation level is that you can obviously have a different transaction and tracking for your quotations, email it out to the customer. But more importantly is that when you enter it in the quotation, you are following through exactly the same information. So if we pull along a customer, we'll pick a product code, or service code. We're going to keep it very straightforward here. I'm just going to do one line on that. And by the way, we can also override that that sales rep. We could put here somebody like Stephanie, okay, and rather than taking it from the customer record. Now, assuming we've won the quotation, we can flag that as one. If there is any stock to be allocated, we can allocate it there. Now, without me doing anything else, that has populated directly into as a sales order, and you can see it's flagged as fully allocated. So if I had anything to dispatch, I would click on my dispatch. I'm not interested in the printout just for the purpose of this demonstration. But again, without me going into anything, that has produced an invoice for me. So it's followed all the way through, and you can see by the screen, it's identical from the quotation. So I've been able to record everything just once, but been able to produce a sales invoice by that. And obviously I can email that through, etc., etc. But if I just update the ledger for the purpose of this demonstration, we don't want to send the entire, thank you. It's popped out there. So if I have a look there and we go into our activity, so what will happen is that invoice has gone into my customer account, but not only that, I can go full circle back to the sales order and see it via the customer. So that's just one area that I wanted you to have a look at on that. So that's easy. That's if we have transactions, we're going straight into Sage 50, but we've also noticed that the industry that you're in, that you would have some third party, some industry specific software. So we have two areas that we could import from that. We have our Sage own invoice importer, so that will take transactions and you'll put it into the format in here. You can nominate the customer, the nominal, the date, etc. And if I sample an import in here and show you how quickly it is. So we go to our import. We can do our backup. I've done one already. We go to our audit trail. We find our file that we're going to import. Click on OK and next. This is the mapping, if we particular fields the map, because they don't have to be in the exact format. And that has literally imported a bunch of transactions straight into Sage 50. So what we've seen is third parties provide a file and customers just import that export file from the third party. Or if we want to, we can have another file type, and that would be more down to stock or service codes. Again, your third party can provide this. So what we do here is we have a piece of software that we can import. So we'll go and we'll look for our import file. What that will do, that will read it and literally we'll load. Now we can't time this one so that it can be portal. It can be looking for these files. And again, that's straight into Sage 50 without us doing anything else. And we can see here on our invoice list. So there was our 95. Excuse me, that we had manually entered. If I just refresh the screen, you can see now that since my 95 down here, I have imported all of these invoices in by literally a click of a button. So that's where we've worked very closely with utilizing Sage 50 for analysis, but also hooking up with the industry specific software. What we find is with the industry specific is that they want to get more detailed operational details, and Sage fulfills the financial details. But by importing your invoices like this, we can marry the two up together. Excuse me. So that is on the customer side. So if we look in the on the supplier side from our costs and our operational overheads and items like that, again, we could utilize the analysis codes, but for the purpose here, I'm utilizing the nominal code, defaulting it to the correct nominal code and a department for that. So again, please bear in mind that this is just demo data. The other area I want to show you is where we are using the bank details also on the supplier account to speed up supplier payments. So what we'll do is we'll click in and we will enter a batch invoice. So if I enter a batch invoice, I can click on the supplier. I can add a copy of the supplier's invoice here onto my transaction. I have a sample file there that I can just attach. I've defaulted my nominal code. I've defaulted my department, and now it's just up to me if I want to put a details in there, and I'll put a value. I can enter as many of these want. I can split out as many VAT codes, as many nominal that I wish to on this, or if there's any further attachments. So I'm going to save on that. So if I pop into the activity in here on the supplier, you can see there is my value of my electricity invoice, and you'll see the little attachment there. I can open up that attachment that I put onto it. And again, you can be able to see PDF, JPEG, etc., Word document, whatever it is that you want to attach onto that item. We'll come back to the benefit of the departments shortly, but we have a partner that we've linked up very successfully with. So if you want to improve the speed of the invoice entry, or if you want to look at purchase ordering and a matching to your invoicing. So what we've done there is they will issue out an invoice an email address to your suppliers, and effectively they will email all of the invoices in there. That will pop into a portal, and then you'll have AI working on some default nominal codes, tax codes, descriptions, etc., that you will be able to identify, and then you'll be able to approve them when you want to post them into Sage 50. So that again will speed up that part of the process. So I referred to the banks earlier on. So I'm just going to pay a supplier. So I'll pop in, I'll pick any supplier there, and I can pick a number of them one after the other. The key piece in here is where I leave the reference code back. So that was when I set up the bank details. So that knows that it's going to group this into a file and not to individually expect me to log on to the bank and pay the beneficiaries individually. You can see I've still got my view attachment here. So I'm just going to pick one invoice to pay. I would go on to my next supplier, etc. But if I come into my e-payments now, you will see here that I have my invoice to be paid. And I've got a number of them. So I can do one or many and select them. And I can click on send. And what that's going to do is that's going to start collating them into a bank file. You can see I've got 6 items and a value, and all I need to do is click OK. I set the bank date, I put my bank reference on it, and it creates a file into a default directory. I can change that, but there's where my file is going to be left at. All I need to do now is to log on to my bank and upload that file. So that means I don't have to go in individually and create a beneficiary for each payment. And particularly if I still do some odd beneficiaries where I need to do a one-off payment, but I also, if I do more than 5, I will end up doing it in this batch. So while that's gone ahead, I can then pick off my remittance advices. So you can see all the ones here that have been paid by BACS. I can highlight them, as many as I want, or I can take all of them. I can print my remittance. Now, print remittance is just a term to get into where I want to click onto the email and format send out. So they will go to the contact details that are set on my supplier account that I've set for remittance advices. So just a quick recap on the entry piece of the Sage 50. So we can enter our invoices manually. We can do analysis on them. We can import them just as transactions directly onto the customer account. And the purpose of those could be for statements or for cash receipts. We can import them in as invoices if we want to have the breakdown so that we can match financial and operational details. We've got our departments on our costs. We've got attachments, or we can look at a portal to import those via email onto our Sage. And we've got then cutting out our individual beneficiary payments. We can do our bank upload file and onto our remittance advice. So that's all of the Sage 50 pieces that I want to bring to your attention. And then what we have is on our premium contracts for our clients, we have a toolkit. Now we've got lots of areas that we can explore in here. We've got an overview that I just opened in the background, so it can give you a very quick age debtors, age creditors, your top customers, suppliers, the number of them, and we will be developing that on further. You can get breakdown under your customer of your customers. If you want to do your age debt there, we can see your sales orders, your invoices. And again, the concept is to make the drill through onto data much easier. But where I want to concentrate this morning on is the sales analysis. So what I'm going to do here is, this is a read-only toolkit into our Sage 50 data. I want to run year-on-year figures. So I'm going to run January 22 to May 23, and I'm going to refresh. So what that's done there is, I'm just going to close these down for a second. So what that's done there, that is read the data live from Sage 50 by the basis of the refresh. It is a read-only. I can have as many formats as I want here on for the analysis. So I have only got data in this data set for January to May in both years. Now, if I want to, you can see your sales here by customer, month on month, year on year. If I decided I could use a filter, just a bit like Excel, and click May. So very quickly, I can see per customer how I'm doing in May. Or obviously I can run it across a number of the months. Now you might say that might not be enough detail. So what I can do is I can drill down to my product category. So remember, I maintain my product categories within Sage 50. Now again, you please excuse my terminology. I'm not a waste management expert, but I tried to give some common terms. So I can see my customer by my product category for the 2 years every month. I can explore that down further, and I can get down to the actual product description of what those bins were the month across the 2 years. Now, I've got analysis, and I spoke earlier on about customer analysis. So remember, I had the rep on the customer, or I had a rep on the sales order. So if I was looking at the customer analysis one, which is my rep, and I just literally dragged it in here, I'm going to just clap these up a little bit, just to make the data a little bit easier to look at. So I can see that this rep has been assigned these customers, and I can see that the rep sales by this customer by this category. Now, I could pull the customer away from there, because actually I want to see how the rep is doing possibly on my product categories. So exactly the same, I've dragged out the same information, but I'm just looking at it in a different way. Now, I may decide that I want to see actually my customer analysis code. I can literally flick that around, and now I can see who the reps are looking after the bins, the compost, and that. Each change I do here, I could actually now say, well, I'm going to save that one, because that is now my product category by rep, and I can save that. Now, if I pop back into my waste management that I started off with, it will reset it back to where it was literally on my customer by product category. I can flick back into my product category, and it'll pop back in here. So I can save multiple versions of this. Now, I might decide that actually the rep on the customer is not as detailed, because actually a customer doesn't have a singular rep. It can depend on who takes the call. So I could go along and take the sales order rep. And now you can see that that will change the details here, because I actually have more reps dealing with bins than I did assigned to the customers. So you can see very quickly here, if quantities were of interest to you, I can drag them down here. Now I've got a situation where I can see the value and the quantity for those sales. Now, I don't want to overload anybody, but I want to just show you here the idea of literally dragging out a singular piece of information. If your supporting analysis are set behind the scenes, how you can use that in multiple ways to get many reports out. So if you take it there, we can have product category by rep, by customer. I could drag my customer back down again if that was of relevance. I can take out my product description. So I can see that in bins by Joanne, she's selling to these customers. Or vice versa, I can change it over again. Joanne is doing bins, compost lists to all of these customers. So hopefully that gives you an insight into some sales analysis very quickly. The other area I want to have a look at is our nominal analysis. So what I've just done is I've taken my default chart of accounts. I'm only looking at the profit and loss. And again, I'm looking at the same period of time because I just want to get a year-on-year look at this. So I can see here I've got my profit and loss, I've got my category. Now these are all dictated by this layout. If I expand these out, you can see that I've gone from sales to the residential. I'm going to take out this because I'm only looking at my profit and loss. So I'll just make it a little bit tidier there. Now, if I wanted to, I can't see department there, but I have, like in the sales piece, I have department names. So I was talking to you earlier about departments when you're entering your transactions. So again, I could drag my department down here. Let's pop it in here. And I was going to collapse that. So I can see here under sales, I've got some operational or default departments, but more importantly, where my most relevance here is in my overheads and my direct expenses. So I might decide, actually, I'm going to have a look at some operating costs. I don't want to see my sales and I don't want to see, oops, actually, I want to see my direct expenses. I want to see my overheads. So again, I'm just doing the filter. So I'm starting to see these operational piece of information or these overhead. So I can see in marketing, I've got sales and promotion, and I can see across 2022 versus 2023. So if I have a look here, I can then see in my accountants, I've got I got administration, I've got this area, that should be accounts, sorry about that. And I've got some telephone. So obviously you'll make some more logical sense than myself on the department. Again, likewise, I can shift the department over here. So I could look at the category name and the departments that they're coming into and see which department I am having most issues with, possibly. I can drag all the way down. I can go to the week. And I can go to quarter if I want to on my P&L. I'm going to take off 2022 because usually I'll only be looking at 1 year. Now I can see I've got weeks, the week number within the quarter and the month that's there. Actually, my month would be more logical there. So I've got year, quarter, month, and weeks. Now that's obviously quite a bit of information on that. If I wanted to drill down into the actual, the nominal codes, sorry, that's not that one I wanted. I can pop the nominal code down into there. I can go right the way down to details and start finding out what was logged and where if I want to query any of the details further. One last thing is if any of the details are useful, not my data, I can say on the way of information, you can look at some charts, or more importantly, you can export it out as PDF, CSV, Excel, and then utilize the data afterwards. So I hope that was of use there to you all. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. Yeah, one just came through there. Yeah, the banking on the you might need to just hook up with the bank to get a reference number, something to be able to utilize that. But as far as Sage is concerned, that can be set up very quickly. And in the meantime, I would recommend that you start maintaining your supplier bank details because then you're ready to kick off. Yeah, you can start importing at any stage. We will be quite happy to talk to any third party and make sure that they're happy with the details of the export out on what we need, and we can decide on a one-to-one basis whether you want to go just into the Sage nominal accounts and customer accounts, or whether you want to go right down to product details. And I suppose you need to consider how we're going to maintain the two systems and stay aligned. The accounts mate doesn't take up a Sage 50 user. So if you are at your maximum Sage 50 users, there's no problem with that. We don't. It is literally a plug and play. We'll get you started, and as you can see, there is the other question was that you can set it up to multiple companies, and once we set you up, then you can play away, save as many reports as you want to. You can save reports for yourself, you can save reports for another user, you can save them for a role or just on the system. Yeah, we provide it as part of our contract on the premium contracts. Yeah, it's part of the fee. Okay. If there's any more, I'm happy to take them. Okay. Well, I thank you all very much for your time. Please feel free to contact us if there's any items on the webinar that are of interest to you.